Okay, thank you again for having me. I'm really excited to be a part of this session and to deliver to you this morning. So I'm going to talk a little bit about challenge and how I've kept challenge in my career in education, and how I've taken ownership over that myself, rather than depending on kind of CPD budgets, line managers, senior leaders, and how I'm continuing to do that. So you can find me on Twitter. And I'm also part of Women Ed Jersey in the Channel Islands, so please give us a follow as well. So I think I've got control. I'm trying to change slides. Let me see. Okay, there we go. Hopefully I haven't skipped on too far. So I thought I'd just tell you a little bit about the start of my career. So I started teaching in 2012. As a teacher of philosophy and religious studies in a very male-dominated all-boys boarding school and grammar school. And I quickly realised that if I wanted any kind of further challenge and career progression, that I was going to have to take charge of that myself. The school was very much based on succession planning and years served versus the progress that you'd made as a teacher. So people were in the wings waiting for promotions for years and years. And I did face quite a lot of sexism and ageism when I was there as a very young female member of staff in a school that was dominated by older men who often were past pupils, and would succeed into roles because of the years that they'd been at the school. So I volunteered to be AQA's CPD champion for a year, where I got free CPD for a whole year. So I just did every single course that they had on offer in order to build my CV. And I took on every single TLR that was going, even for very little money, because that was my way of building my experience and allowing myself to be ready for the next step. This was an outstanding school. And after 2 years there, and I'd exhausted AQA's CPD options, I'd done every TLR that nobody else wanted to do. I was looking for my next challenge, and coming from an outstanding boarding and grammar school, I wanted something completely different. And I actually went to be assistant head of faculty at a comprehensive school in a really deprived area of Merseyside, which was in special measures, and was not doing well in terms of getting out of special measures. So the lessons that I learned is people tried to put me off that move, and I'll talk a little bit about what it was like when I got to that school. But it was a risk that was definitely worth taking. Another lesson that was learned was do the jobs nobody else wants to do, and do them to the best of your ability and make them your own, because it stood me in really good stead moving forward. So the next challenge in my career was obviously moving to the school that was in special measures. And I'm just trying to change slide again. There we go. So obviously I've come from a school that was outstanding, straight into a school in special measures. We had 5 Ofsted inspections in 14 months. And we were a record-breaking school in the sense that we moved straight from special measures to good. We didn't go into requires improvement. So the CPD that I got there was incredible, but it was a very, very challenging school with serious behaviour issues. This was an amazing challenge for me, and I think taking that risk to move into a school that was in such a different context to the one I'd started in made me the teacher that I am today. I obviously had the CPD and the challenge of that move from, and obviously getting to grips with what Ofsted Outstanding looked like, ensuring that my team knew how to be an outstanding teacher under Ofsted. So my career was very Ofsted focused at that point. And I was promoted to head of faculty there. And after 3 years there, I was looking for the next challenge. So I thought, I want a big change again. And I wanted to go and work for a teaching school, where I had the opportunity to become a specialist leader in education. So I found a school that was advertising for a head of department, so a slight step down from a head of faculty. But I was immediately made specialist leader in education for literacy at that school. and I was sent to support a school also in a deprived area of Merseyside that was in requires improvement and had been for several years. And I helped them get ready for their Ofsted inspection and improve the standards of literacy and their reading ages. That was an amazing challenge again, and something that I had to volunteer to do and give up my spare time. A lot of my time was taken out of school so that I could be sent out to other schools that were in need of support, but I had to keep my standards in my department as high as they would be if I was in full time. I was then made lead teacher for Lancashire County Council as well, which again was even more time outside of school, after school, during my frees, going out and delivering CPD to secondary and primary schools across the UK alongside the Lancashire agreed syllabus. And I think, again, lessons learned about challenge in this role was that I'd looked out for opportunities that weren't necessarily coming from within the school I was working in. They were advertised by the local council. They required working outside of my own school context. And that, again, enabled me to be constantly challenged and pushed me to maintain my standards in the department, but required me to look outside of the school and classroom box for kind of promotion and new opportunities. And because I was outside of school so much, I had to learn to delegate and be okay with that. So making sure I had good staff and being comfortable with allowing them to run my department effectively when I was out of school. And I think that's something we really struggle to do sometimes as teachers, because we want to take control and ensure that our standards are maintained, and we want to do that ourselves. Okay. So at this point, I wanted again another challenge and a kind of change in my life. So I decided to move from the northwest of England to Jersey and the Channel Islands. This was a massive risk for me because I'd invested so much into my career in the UK, and I was very much on the Ofsted treadmill, and everything I did was focused on Ofsted. But I wanted to change my pace of life and give myself more time to do the other things that I enjoy. So like scuba diving, for example, I can do that on my doorstep here. Not something I necessarily wanted to do in Liverpool. So I thought that this would be an amazing thing, and that I'd love this new freedom and time and less of a kind of treadmill at work. But when I found myself sobbing in the assistant head's office because I missed the Ofsted framework so much and the rigour that comes with that, I knew that this was going to be probably the toughest challenge of my career, which was accepting that I wasn't always being challenged. So there were no behaviour issues. Ofsted aren't breathing down your neck. We're not inspected unless we request to be as an independent school. So this was a massive challenge for me, was accepting that I wouldn't necessarily always be on the edge of my seat. So I thought about how would I keep the challenge that I love and enjoy in my career, and take control of that myself. I'm just trying to change slides again. Okay, so I thought about what is it that I actually love about my job. Which areas do I want to prioritise, and which areas of challenge do I want to keep in my posts. I'm just trying to change again. It's just a bit slow. Sorry, everybody. Okay, so I decided that the things I love about my job the most is having quantitative impact on the progress and attainment of pupils, and developing staff. So these are the two areas that I'm focusing on now. So I've started my MPQ SL, which again was having to seek out that challenge outside of my school and my context. I managed to get funding from the diocese to do that, so it didn't have any impact on school budgets. I didn't have to get it through SLT or anything. I could just do that myself. So I've done my MPQ SL, and again I focused on literacy and improving reading ages in the school I'm in now. So being able to see that quantitative impact in data is what really makes me, as sad as it is, really makes me happy in my job, where I can see I'm making a difference to the pupils. developing staff, again, there isn't much career progression in the school I'm in now because people are there's long-standing staff. So I've become a women leading in education coach for the Teaching Schools Council, which has taken over from the DFE's Women Leading in Education scheme. So if anyone is interested in being a coach or being coached, that's a great way of doing it, and you can do that remotely. And obviously through Women Ed Jersey, being able to have contact with other women in education locally, support them, offer CPD sessions, that's been massively interesting for me and empowering, being able to do that. And again, these are things that I can do whichever school I work in, and challenge that I can keep for myself ongoing in my career wherever I move to. That's my last slide. It's just, there we go. So I think what I've gained from all of this challenge in my career is I now have an understanding of how to keep the challenge in my job, but also keep a balance at home and be happy with having more time at home. I've abandoned this chase for the next promotion all the time because I'm now taking control of my own challenge and my own CPD outside of work. And I do feel very empowered by the Teaching Schools Council as a coach, offering CPD for the Government of Jersey and through Women Ed Jersey as well. And I'm really excited to continue my involvement in Women Ed England as well, and globally. I'd love to have more involvement. And I think that this challenge that I create for myself, that won't change when I change jobs, is what kind of gives me reassurance that I will keep enjoying my job and my own CPD no matter where I work. And thank you very much for listening, everybody.